Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. As today we got another episode of reviewing NHL teams offseason so far. As today we're going to be talking about the San Jose Sharks, as they made a pretty good amount of moves, and not just that, they had a new rookie GM take over their team in Mike Guerrier. And honestly, he did a pretty good job of making some really low-key moves for the San Jose Sharks as they continue to be super tight up against the cap. But before we get into talking about Mike Guerrier's first offseason with the San Jose Sharks, I'd like to just say, if you are new to the channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button and hit that like button as well. It'll be very much appreciated there, guys. Also, if you guys like to get some exclusive videos and not just that, early videos as well, make sure to check out my members only tab, as we got the boys club, and come and join along. You could either be a female or man, anyone could join along in the boys club, as we got some amazing emotes, early videos, and member shoutouts as well. So make sure to go check it out. It'll be very much appreciated. Instead of me self-advertising myself, let's get into talking about the San Jose Sharks, and let's get right into their offseason, which they got a new head coach in David Quinn and a new GM. They basically got both. And the move for Mike Guerrier was really weird, because they hired him basically like a few days before the draft, and Mike Guerrier really didn't waste any time at making moves. He really just went all for it right off the get-go, and let's just jump right into it. Very first of all, he traded away his first-round pick, which was 11th overall, to get 27, 34, and 45, which honestly was a pretty good move here by the San Jose Sharks. You know, they really don't have a prospect system, and that's been a thing to note over the past few years, ever since they've been kind of going downhill, is they really don't got a prospect system. Yeah, they got William Ekblad and Ozzy Westblatt and, you know, Jesper Weatherby, but they don't got a lot of guys that are like, yeah, that's going to be an amazing guy. They really never had that. Now you brought in some other guys that could deepen the squad, and you make the team a little bit deeper. Because honestly, the approach that the San Jose Sharks should be taking with their team right now is the way that the Minnesota Wild are taking their team right now. Being very cost effective, not signing guys to horrendous contracts, and getting everyone to really nice contracts, especially since you already got to deal with horrible contracts like Karlsson, like Vlasic. And I mean, Hurdle and Couture are not horrible contracts, but they're expensive. Really, really expensive. And you got to build around like 4 really expensive contracts. And Karlsson, who continues to get injured. And Vlasic, who is just an absolute bombshell out there. He's just not good. Like, it's one of the worst contracts in the NHL. Moving forward, though. Their next trade, that we traded away John Leonard and a 3rd-round pick, picking up Luke Coonan. John Leonard was an alright guy. He showed some decent potential, but really never became anything. With Luke Coonan, they're getting a guy that can finish, but my lord, has just not been a guy that's been able to find his game 5-on-5 wise. He's just had some questionable years. Really wasn't able to find his game in Minnesota. Wasn't able to find his game with the Predators. So we'll have to see how well he does trying to find his game there in San Jose. An alright deal. You get a guy that's also questionable there in Luke Coonan. So we'll have to see how well he pans out. And then we'll get to the rest of the trades right after we talk about their draft, which they picked up Phillip Bystad, who honestly was a pretty good prospect, a guy that wasn't really expected to be drafted in the first round, but has an entire toolkit to really become a really good offensive guy in the NHL. Doesn't play too great defensively, but has pretty good offensive upside. The biggest thing is how he does with his puck possession. He's not the most flashiest guy and is not great at his puck possession skills. Still does produce a decent amount of points, not bad, but the biggest highlight of this draft was Matthias Hadley, a guy that could be kind of like a Sami Vatanen, who could play really well offensively, doesn't do too bad defensively, but he's a very small defenseman at 5'9", 165 pounds, and did a pretty good job there on the Olinka Gretzky Cup. 9 points in 5 games. World Juniors, he had 12 points in 6 games. This guy's been doing really good against his own age, but hasn't really been able to find that production in the adult league there in the SHL. So we'll have to see how well Havlin will, you know, continue to grow as a player there for the San Jose Sharks. But that is definitely an exciting player out of this draft. But the Sharks had an alright draft, especially since they were able to pick up some later on picks, which they definitely needed to, because quite honestly, they last year's draft or this past year's draft, they didn't have a whole lot of picks. And, bolstering up some picks throughout that draft was a really smart idea there from Mike Grier to, bolster up their prospect system a little bit more. And then they were able to get rid of Brent Burns. They were really shopping him around, and they got him shipped off to Carolina and Lane Peterson for Steven Lorentz, Mac Nieminen, and a 2023 third-round pick. Sure, you definitely didn't get what is really valued for Brent Burns, and you had to retain. But honestly, Steven Lorentz, not a bad player. Definitely not going to be what you really want for a replacement for Brent Burns. But the signings that you did get in Matt Benning, I would have to say, is a great replacement for Brent Burns. Burns was going downhill. He had an horrendous contract. You couldn't continue to keep him on the team. Now you're only really having to worry about 2.720 of that cap hit. So honestly, really good move by Mike Grier getting Brent Burns off the team. And then they were also trading away Adin Hill, which they traded a second-round pick for Adin Hill, and they only got back a fourth, which is kind of a bummer there for the Sharks. But in the end, Adin Hill just really didn't pan out the way that they were thinking Adin Hill would have panned out for them. But they do got a pretty good tandem with Kaapo Kokkinen and James Reimer right now, which I'm pretty excited about because I'm a pretty big fan of James Reimer, and he was absolutely amazing last season for the San Jose Sharks, posting some amazing numbers. So I think their goalie tandem coming into this upcoming season is really, really nice. But moving forward towards the signings here for the Sharks, we'll talk about Mario Fiero, which not a bad signing. 4 years at $3.25 million. The biggest thing is with Mario Fiero, he's not a top 2 defenseman. He just simply isn't. He hasn't been posting great numbers since he's been a top 2 guy. I think this is the type of guy that you want to be playing down as your fourth guy, maybe even a third pairing defenseman with Mario Fiero. I think he'll play a lot better with the less minutes that he will get, because with the 23 minutes on average per game for Mario Fiero, he's just taking the hard jobs. He's not doing very good with those hard jobs, and he's just not that top pairing defenseman, but not a bad contract there for Fiero. Kaapo Kokkinen, I think, is a really good goaltender. I really was high on his upside when he made a few debuts there for the Minnesota Wild. He played 11 games this past season, was in a deal that they got him, and honestly, really, really good goaltender, posted some great numbers, had a 9-12 throughout this past season, and I think is a really nice kind of backup 1B. I think it'll be more of a tandem goalie, but maybe could potentially take that starting role, so we'll have to see how well he'll do, but a really good signing there at 2 years at 2.75. Can't go wrong with that. Luke Coonan, on the other hand, I think this is a little bit of a steep contract, 2.75 for 2 years. I think that was a little bit of a steep contract for Luke Coonan. But once again, he's RFA, and I think, did he have arbitration? No, he didn't have any arbitration, so I don't know why they really signed him to this deal. But once again, 2.75 is not a big deal. But with you being so tight up against the cap, I don't think it was the smartest idea to sign him to that much. When you could have just, maybe signed somebody else that would probably been a lot better than Luke Coonan. Then they also got Oscar Limbaum, who's been a pretty average two-way player. The guy fucking great warrior. The guy battled through cancer and is all right now. Absolutely respect to this man as he recovers from it. Fucking absolute legend Oscar Limbaum is, and I absolutely love the contract. I think he'll do really good with the San Jose Sharks, and I really like the contract that he got at. Nico Storm, I love Nico Storm. I think this is a great pickup for the San Jose Sharks. I know he didn't produce a whole lot of points, but this is a guy that generates a lot of offense and plays very, very good defensively, if I could speak English properly. 3 years at $2 million, absolutely amazing steal. He's kind of a guy that, can play perfectly right behind Nick Bonino, is practically a carbon copy of Nick Bonino, to be quite honest with you. When Nick Bonino goes, Nico Storm will most likely be the replacement for Nick Bonino, and I absolutely love Storm. Great, amazing pickup by Mike Grier. Great job. Marcus Nutavaro was not an amazing pickup. I'm not a really big fan of his defensive ability, but 1.5 at 1 year, you can't go wrong. But this move, Matt Benning, 4 years at $1.25 million is, I love Matt Benning, man. I wish the Edmonton Oilers keep him because he plays so goddamn good defensively, man. Matt Benning is the pitcher-perfect top 6 defenseman who I honestly think will take a perfect spot in that top 4 this upcoming season for the San Jose Sharks and will most likely be given a lot more minutes, and I think Matt Benning will do really good in that spot. Matt Benning is a really good defenseman, especially at that contract that you just got Matt Benning at is an absolute steal. Steal for the San Jose Sharks. Really, really love it. Not a bad deal. Steven Lorentz is okay as well, but that is the offseason for the San Jose Sharks, and honestly, every move the San Jose Sharks did, I quite enjoyed. Mike Grier, I thought, had a really good offseason, especially since he didn't have a whole lot of cap. He made some really smart, intelligent moves to clear cap by, buying out Balcers, getting rid of Burns. He was able to clear some cap space by doing that, and also trading away Ian Hill. He did some really smart stuff. I was a real big fan of what Mike Grier did, especially even the David Quinn pickup for the coach. I think he'll be a really good coach this upcoming season for the Sharks. So it'll be interesting to see. I still don't believe this team is a playoff team, but if they continue to do bargain pickups and continue to get really good players at really cheap prices and developing really good over the next few years, I think this team could be a really, really deadly team, in the next coming years. They just have to play their cards right, and that is the biggest thing. If they continue to do what kind of Minnesota is doing, is just continue to kind of slowly build up the team, I think that's kind of the smartest idea here for the San Jose Sharks. But for now, guys, and I forgot to give this team a grade, and I did that with the Pittsburgh Penguins video as well, which I totally forgot about. But the grade for this past off season, I'm gonna give it a This offseason was pretty good for the San Jose Sharks. I liked a lot of the moves that they did. They didn't have any bad trades. They didn't have any bad moves. Honestly, I think I'm going to go with A minus, I think. There's still lots of, actually, you know what? I'm going to go back on that. I really liked the offseason that they did. Mike Grier did a really good job of bolstering up a lot of picks. And I thought he did just an amazing job for the San Jose Sharks. So I really liked what Mike Grier did. I'm definitely giving him an A. And for the last video that I did for the Penguins, I'm also going to be giving them like an A minus as well. I thought they did really good in their offseason as well, since I forgot to do that in the last video. But thank you very much for watching, guys, and I'll see you guys all in the next one. Adios, amigos.